Good evening, everyone. I hope this means you're having fun and the food is good. Hi, everybody. How you doing? You guys enjoying the Unity Summit? It's been great. It's been great. I'm Susan Taylor Batten. I am the president and CEO of ABFE, and I want to thank you. Thanks. And I want to welcome you to the 26th James Joseph Lecture and Awards Program. This program is named after a giant in the field, someone who we all look up to and respect dearly, Ambassador James A. Joseph, who was ABFE's founding board chair. This program is an opportunity for us to acknowledge leadership and excellence in the field of philanthropy as it relates to promoting responsive philanthropy in Black communities. But we're really proud to share the stage tonight with Change Philanthropy and our Change Philanthropy partners. So we're going to celebrate awardees of not only ABFE, but other partners, and in particular, Native Americans in philanthropy. I just told Sarah we are so excited about sharing the stage with you. So we've got a nice program about recognizing leadership in the field. And so before we jump into the awards, there are going to be a number of colleagues that are come forward and welcome you into the space. And I'm going to start with Lynetta Gilbert, who many of us know and love, to welcome us in the space and to New Orleans.
Well, welcome. This is a wonderful opportunity for me because I don't recall a time when we've had this many people of color in philanthropy in New Orleans. So welcome. I want to ask you to take a moment with me and just let's have a moment of silence for our brothers and sisters who are in Mexico, who've just experienced a very strong earthquake. Thank you. This evening is more than a special moment for me and many of us in this room. Let me first say that it's very important that the James A. Joseph Lecture is held in New Orleans. Ambassador Joseph, as you will recall, is a son of the state of Louisiana. And he came back and joined us in some very, very difficult work in 2005 and continues to work along with us at the Foundation for Louisiana. So it is just exciting that you are here to give an award in New Orleans, even though he's not native to New Orleans, he's from Opelousas. It's very important that his spirit and his leadership be recognized in New Orleans, and he's done a great deal of work in New Orleans too. So thank you, Susan, for hosting this particular event in New Orleans. I also want to say to you that New Orleans is an interesting place. I was on the site visit today and heard Judge Calvin Johnson say, you know, we're the northernmost Caribbean city. And he talked about, which I love, he talked about the real nexus of ethnicities who are in New Orleans. And because of that African, French, Spanish, English, Irish, German, because of all of that, we are not just a gumbo. We're just a group of people who just love to enjoy life. And we want you to enjoy life, but not at this level. We want you to enjoy it the way it needs to be enjoyed. We want you to understand the things that are causing us problems, that are our thorns in our side, that can't allow us to appreciate each other in the way that we should. We want you to enjoy it the way some of our early philanthropists enjoyed giving resources for the upliftment and the progress of people in this nation. We want you to enjoy it knowing that you are in these positions at a moment when you could change the entire way we think about giving and sharing and investing and loving. So you're in the right place. This is the right time. You are the right people. And we love having you here in New Orleans. Thank you so much, Change Philanthropy, for coming.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cora Mercatani. I'm President and CEO of APIP, or Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in Philanthropy, and I'm personally privileged as one of the founding partners of Change Philanthropy to be welcoming you this evening. Change Philanthropy as a coalition is honored to partner with AbbVie and NAP for the James L. Joseph Lecture and Awards celebration. Change Philanthropy believes that we should celebrate individuals and institutions who've made a strong commitment to advance equity across all communities. And tonight, you'll learn of just such examples. I know that the program has been anticipated for quite a long time. So now I'd like to introduce Ken Jones, AbbVie's board chair, to continue our welcome for this evening.
Good evening, New Orleans. First, I want to start by asking how many people are here for the first time? And I will guarantee this would not be your last time. And the reason why I say that, I started in philanthropy about 9 years ago, and I found these meetings are so inspirational in you being in philanthropy, being in consulting, being a grantee. This is our time to come together. And I want to thank the folks who decided to call this the Unity Summit. Given the current state of events, I think that title is so appropriate for what we need to do together. On behalf of the AbbVie board, we look forward to a fantastic event with the awardees culminating with a fantastic James Joseph Lecture. The first thing I want to ask everyone is, once you hear the conclusion of that lecture, think about how that will impact the communities that you serve. Because guess what? The work starts today. And it will be a hard fight, but someone mentioned, if you're willing to fight, you're willing to win. So on behalf of the AbbVie board, we welcome you to the Unity Summit and the James Joseph Lecture. Thank you.
We are welcomed. We are welcomed. Thank you, Lynetta, Cora, and Ken. Thanks so much. So you guys ready to get started? Yeah. And support the brothers and the sisters that are doing the amazing work out there. You ready? All right. We're going to jump right into the program with awards. The first award is going to be introduced by Edward Jones, the Director of Programs at AbbVie.
Y'all real silly in New Orleans right now. It is an honor to have the opportunity to share this award with an amazing person. The AbbVie Philanthropic Emerging Leadership Award was established in 2002 to recognize and encourage the accomplishments and contributions of people, younger folks in the field of philanthropy, who have served as staff, donors, and trustees in the philanthropic sector for no more than 7 years or so. This award recognizes an outstanding individual whose innovative leadership promotes philanthropy as a means of social change in Black communities and advances AbbVie's mission. Today, we are proud to salute Tanisha McHarris. Well deserved, well deserved. AbbVie salutes Tanisha McHarris because you are a quiet fire that shines so brilliantly and intensely for women and girls and adolescent girls and people, particularly our people. That passion is evident in your leadership, your work at Novo, and the Grant Makers for Girls of Color Network in which you have mobilized for the last 2 years in an amazing way in New York. Thank you for sharing your passion and your brilliance. For this, we present you this award.
Hi, family. Okay, my family's here. Hi, family. Thank you. I wanted to just share really quickly my moment of gratitude and my commitments to you all. If that's all right, say all right. All right. Yes, I know a family was in the house. So really quickly, I want to say my gratitude to AbbVie, to Susan, Edward, and all of you at this amazing space that have created opportunities for Black folk across this sector to feel safe, to really honor our whole selves, and to have the courage to fight for Black folk. So I want to thank you. I want to thank my Novo family and my colleagues in the sector for always encouraging me to be my crazy self in all the ways that I show up, because I don't want to ever be 45% of Tanisha, because that's not going to get my people free. And so I thank all of you. I also want to thank Black women. We all know that none of us show up in this space, in this moment, and in this time on accident. And Black women made it possible that I can be a Black woman fighting for Black girls, rooted in a Black feminist, Black queer feminist analysis that was going to fight for liberation for all Black people. And that meant that I had been fighting, I am really standing on the legacy and on the shoulders of so many Black women who made it possible for me to be here. So I also sit in this moment of gratitude because I know that I speak for those that never thought that I would be on a stage like this, but fought hard and had faith and had hope so that I can be on this stage like this, so that I can speak truth and be who I am. And so I want to thank those Black women. And to keep it funky, some of those Black women are in this room today. And so to all you sisters who I always, when we're in meetings, whether we know each other or not, when we cross each other's pathways at conferences, and we give each other the silent, or sometimes not so silent, because you know how we do, love, as Black women, I thank you. Because you create for me the courage and the hope and the possibility for the work that I do every day, so thank you so much. Really quickly, I just want to leave with my commitment to all of you. If that's all right, say all right. All right. My commitment is that I am accountable to all of you as we all are accountable to each other. That none of us started this work because we wanted our people to be doing a little bit better. So I am in this work for Black liberation. And I am in this work for the liberation of all my people. And I am in this work for the liberation of all people. And so in this work of liberation and organizing, I don't think there was ever a blueprint for how philanthropy was going to support it. And who cares, because if it was, it probably wasn't going to work out anyway. So my commitment to all of you and our commitment to each other is in this world where sometimes it can feel overwhelming and scary, downright terrifying. for all of those who care about the liberation of all of us. That there is no rule book, there is no blueprint. We must create it together. It must be rooted in the values and the principles of love, justice, and courage and creativity. And to be able to say the things in rooms where people can't. And so I commit to you, I'm accountable to all of you as we all to each other, that I will spend the rest of my lifetime in this sector or wherever I am. And I hope it is in the sector because we need to be about moving the resources to movements that's going to free us. And as long as I am in a sector that is going to be driving resources to the movements that will free us, I promise not to waver in my belief that liberation is possible. And that anything less does not deserve me being in the positions I'm in. So I thank you for creating an opportunity for a black girl, for a black woman to care about all her people, to show up as her full self, and to believe that in her lifetime, her people can be free. Thank you.
I'm already crying. Because you know how, you just know we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right because we got sisters coming up behind us. Oh. As I mentioned, we are so happy to share the stage with our brothers and sisters at Native Americans in Philanthropy. So I want to introduce Edgar Villanueva, Vice President of Programs and Advocacy at the Schott Foundation and Board Chair of Native Americans in Philanthropy, and my sister, Sarah Eaglehart, CEO of Native Americans in Philanthropy. Come on up, y'all.
This is a long stage. I felt like I was like walking a fashion walk like next to Edgar here. And you know how he is. So this is like only the fourth outfit change for him today.
No more before night's over.
He's got his nighttime look still coming. So we are so grateful to be here at Native Americans in Philanthropy. I have just been feeling so blessed to be a part of the Change Philanthropy Network. I often tell so many people that I really don't feel I would have been oriented so quickly as a new CEO to this space if it weren't for Change and for the family of everybody in Change, like AppFi and APIP and everybody. So we're just so grateful to be here today.
We're honored tonight to present the Flying Eagle Woman Award, which was established in response to the loss of Ingrid Washanawaktak El-Issa, an internationally known humanitarian, who worked to further Native people's rights, Native women issues, sovereignty, and human rights throughout the world. She also served as board chair of NAP. Ingrid touched the lives of countless people who remember her positive energy, charismatic personality, and radiant enthusiasm for making the world a better place. Ingrid's legacy is that of a remarkable woman who served her people and others selfishly. The essence of Native cultures is manifested through giving, as an act of giving, as an expression of our culture and in honoring the principles of generosity. Native people give to honor, we give to celebrate, to show our responsibility toward family, friends, and other members of the community. Tonight, this award honors those in our community who clearly demonstrate they are guided by the Native worldview and philosophy, including a holistic, community-centered approach to living and giving. The 2017 Flying Eagle Woman Community-Based Philanthropy Award recipient is Julia Kelly. Julia?
Julia from the Crow Nation is a retired Command Sergeant Major and currently serves on an all-Native, all-woman color guard, the First Nations Women Warriors. She has dedicated her work and her life to her country and her people, and we honor that dedication tonight. Julia was nominated by Joseph Podlasek, the CEO of Trickster Art Gallery, which hosts the National Gathering of American Indian Veterans. In his nomination letter, he states, "I nominate Julia for this award because of her heart that she has shown to so many different people on many levels. She is passionately involved with Native women's affairs in the military, in volunteering in other veterans organizations, including those that help homeless women's veterans. At the same time, she is mindful about the traditions and importance of sharing them with younger generations as a jingle dress dancer. She is always open and eager to answer questions from our youth and to help cultivate their culture. Julia has helped proudly represent Native Americans in France during ceremonies on Omaha Beach for the 73rd anniversary of D-Day and the dedication of the Charles Norman Shea Indian Memorial Park, honoring all North American Indian soldiers from World War II.
Her involvement in Native women's veteran issues has been very crucial. After 27 years of service, she stayed connected to her community of Native women veterans and is working hard to build awareness of their service and of the serious problems that all women in the military face during and after service, including PTSD. Julia is very humble and a generous woman, bringing her skills to the community. She treats each person as an individual to whom she gives all of her heart, prayers, and traditional ways of healing with all that she has to offer. This is a very emotionally draining job for Julia to take on, given all the challenges in her family life, but she never stops. She's always looking for ways to make the system better for all. And at the same time, Julia is always ready to share a smile and a word with the world and a laugh. Julia, congratulations.
So we're honoring Julia with a gift. Native Americans, we traditionally do a wrap ceremony with a blanket. So we want to give Julia this blanket from 8th Generation that is based in Seattle. And so it's a Native American-owned company. And this is how we honor our people, by wrapping them in a blanket. Yep, we're ready.
Good evening, everybody. Absaluga Bik, Besanya Ikshik, Ushbik. In our tradition, I have to say who I am in my language, so in case somebody out there knows who I am, okay? That's how we do it. It's tradition, okay? In case we have relatives out there. You never know in a big crowd like this who's out there. I am a volunteer of First Nation Women Warriors, and we had started our little organization. It's a 501c3, and we started it based off of grassroots, and it was because, and I'm going to tell my story. I came back from Iraq, and I went to a powwow, and we went to Color Guard, and if any of you all know Color Guard, we go in, and we were women veterans. There's two of us, me and my cousin. We went in, and we were standing there, and we were really going. All of a sudden, the arena director told us, "You women, move to the back of the line." And we're like, "But we're veterans." I said, "Get to the back of the line." And so we stayed there until he went back up and came back down. And the third time, he said, "I told you women to get to the back of the line, but we're women veterans. We can't stay up here with the veterans. No. Get to the back of the line." All of a sudden, we hear a voice behind us. No, they stay right there. And it happened to be Senator Ben Horse Campbell. He said, no, they stay in front of us. So that one part, that story right there, why? I'm a woman veteran. Nobody knows my story. Do you know a woman veteran? Do you know a woman veteran? Do you know the story? Do you know a Native woman veteran? Do you know their story? Okay? So since that day, I told my cousin, hey, we need to do our own color guard. So she's like, okay. I was like, yeah, but I still got to go do Army stuff, you know. I still got a couple more years and whatever. So she got on the roll, and we did that. And that was the first nonprofit I started up. And then the second one, the ladies asked me, I took an 18-month hiatus away from everybody, managing myself, fixing myself, and they asked me to help them with this second nonprofit, which is First Nation Women Warriors. Currently, our big project is we're gifted a house, and we're turning that house, and we're going to be gifting it to a veteran in need in November, hopefully. And I need to thank my Natives in Philanthropy. Just so y'all know, I came on the plane like last minute because I didn't know I was nominated. That's just how humble I am. People just do things secretly, so they don't tell you that this is happening. And so I'm here, and I humbly accept this gift because in our way, we don't boast and we don't brag about what we do, okay? But we'll go forward, and with the organization, whatever I have to do, and if all my ladies are out there watching this live right now, I'm here, I'm standing up for all of you all that are color guarding, all of you all that are out there, I am here, and I'm gonna be standing, and I wanna make that commitment to you all that no matter what, I'm gonna be supporting you. Thank you.
So in closing, I just want to recognize Julia as well, because in January of this year, there were a collection of nonprofits that came together during the Women's March, and we were able to organize and work together to bring 1,000 women to the Women's March to bring visibility to Indigenous women's issues. And the way that we did that, thank you. The way that we did that was through art. And, you know, we had this idea about creating a scarf, a bandana, a fashion item, really. And we utilized the design of Bethany Yellowtail, who is also Crow. And Bethany Yellowtail and I came up with this idea, and so we created this bandana that is the Woman Warrior bandana. So Julia, obviously, you know, I was not involved with nominating her, by the way, but she is everything that we hope for and that young women look up to and want to achieve and emulate in our lives. And so, you know, I want to also give this to Julia because this is the hopes and dreams of like many women right now in this country that want to be seen and want to be heard now. So Wopila Julia Kelly.
All right, can we give him one more hand, please? This is amazing. My name is Marcus Walton, Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of AbbVie. Thank you. Can we just look at our neighbors and say, we're doing this thing? Is it really happening? Yeah, oh my goodness. Our Unity Summit partners understand where I'm coming from with that. Okay, that's enough. I'm here to, I've had to pull myself together a couple of times just to get up here and really finish this. But there's so much emotion and there's so much meaning that goes into this. We're so proud to share this space, this platform in a way that's historic. I mean, seeing all of you is just really an amazing realization of a vision that has been passed down through generations. And I have the honor of representing that legacy of leaders through this institution and sharing that with you now. So I want to be very explicit about what you're experiencing right now. And I really want to honor and thank all of those who allowed me to represent the organization in this way. The AbbVie Institutional Award for Philanthropic Leadership was established in 2002 to recognize significant efforts and contributions of grant-making organizations to promoting philanthropy as a means for social change in Black communities. This award recognizes an exemplary grant-making institution that models effective and responsive grant-making practices. This year, AbbVie recognizes the Hill Snowden Foundation. For its deep commitment to Black communities, as best demonstrated perhaps through its Making Black Lives Matter initiative, which centers Black-led organizing as a strategy for revitalizing the political and social infrastructure within Black communities. As a grateful and humbled Black organizer myself, 4 years in the Bronx, I proudly present this award to Nat Chioke Williams, the Executive Director for Hill Snowden. Join me in celebrating his 10th year anniversary on Saturday and sharing this honor with his children, Maya, 8 years old, Gabriel, 6 years old. Nat, come on up.
How's everybody doing tonight? These lights are bright, let me tell you that. Jesus. All right. Well, I'm so honored to be here tonight and appreciative to receive the AbbVie Institutional Leadership Award. We don't do what we do for accolades and awards, but you know, it's nice to be recognized every once in a while, right? So I accept this award on behalf of the board and staff of the Hill Snowden Foundation, but more importantly, I accept it on behalf of all the leaders who struggle every day to make this world a better place, and whose examples inspires, informs everything that we do, and without whom progressive philanthropy and social justice philanthropy would have no purpose and would have no reason to exist. The Hill Snowden Foundation is a relatively small foundation. We don't have a lot of money, we have a pretty small staff. And relatively speaking, we're in the lower rungs of the philanthropic food chain. Which is largely based on how much money you have in your asset base. But we like to think that our primary currencies are our commitment to justice, our courage to act consistently on our convictions, and our faith in the brilliance of the oppressed, and a belief that their leadership will make this world a better world for all of us. I imagine the particular honor of receiving this award from AbbVie tonight is a result of the work that the Hill Snowden Foundation has done over the past few years to advance and lift up the fundamental necessity of strengthening the infrastructure for Black-led social change so that Black people can not only matter, but so that we can also thrive, and so that the progressive movement can meet its most ambitious goals. AbbVie has been an important partner with the Hill Snowden Foundation in this work, particularly in the creation of the Black Social Change Funders Network, and in our co-authoring, Susan and I, co-authoring the Case for Funding Black-Led Social Change. But on a more personal note, AbbVie helped me to reconnect with the political substance of my Blackness. when I look back on my career, I came to realize that progressive philanthropy had slowly massaged the sharp political edges out of my blackness by subsuming me in a multiracial melting pot. And it was my preparation to speak on an AppFree webinar in the months following the killing of Mike Brown that gave me a platform to articulate and evolve my analysis of black oppression and struggle in the 21st century. And since I have that platform again today, I'd just like to share a few of my current thoughts on these issues. And so, as I mentioned, Susan and I wrote the case for funding Black-led social change last year as a call to action to invest in building the infrastructure for Black-led social change in this country. But in the past year, I've come to realize that social change is too meek and too meager a concept to describe what it is that black people need in order to thrive in this country. And when you think about it, that's all we ever get. The social change that the system of elite white male supremacy is willing to spare, right? And it could spare change because it still maintains control and we still do not have what we need to thrive. So I would tell you right now, here and right now, that I don't want anybody's damn spare change. You know, I want it all. I want freedom. And so now I talk about black freedom rather than black social change. And the strategies and vision for black freedom have evolved in every century for the past 4 centuries. And nevertheless, the defining thrust of our quest for freedom to date has been the freedom from bondage, the freedom from legal repression, the freedom from discrimination, as opposed to the freedom to thrive, right? And what we've necessarily been doing for centuries is trying to tear down the barriers of systemic oppression. And while this still needs to be done, our vision for freedom cannot be bound to or limited by our oppression. Can we imagine a vision of black freedom that is more than just the rejection or the absence of our bondage and oppression? Because technically, we've largely achieved legal bondage from crude repression, but the strictures of our bondage have evolved over time, resulting in de jure legal liberties, but de facto racialized bondage. Integration, voting rights, equal opportunity, all these things we've achieved, but in today's society, we are indeed in a far worse situation than we have been for 50 or 60 years. So what should the vision and the strategic framework for black freedom look like in the 21st century? And to answer this question, we have to get a little sci-fi, right? We have to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone. We have to look past the world that we currently see, and we literally have to free our minds from the boundaries of our current reality to see where we need to be. We need to evolve our conceptualization of true freedom so that it's more than just mere social change or social justice. And we need to push to create a wholly new social, political, economic, cultural order predicated on the core value that everyone has to thrive and everyone has to be their true full selves. And so fundamentally what that means is that we must support and build a robust and powerful black freedom infrastructure. And this black freedom infrastructure would prioritize the development of a broad dissemination of a compelling vision for black freedom, implement a strategic framework for black freedom, and engage a mass base of the black community and our allies in a process of liberation that centers blackness. So if we're going to get free, imagining, debating, and exploring what black freedom can be has to become the primary cultural, political, and social priority of black people. Every person and family has to be talking about this. When we're in a barbershop, we're in the beauty salons, when we're in church, we have to be talking about black freedom. When our songs, our art, our technology has to be about black freedom. We have to talk about this on an individual level, on a group level, and the expansiveness, the penetration, and the longevity of these freedom dialogues is both predicated on and emblematic of a strong black freedom infrastructure. So that's why everyone in here, and I hope we all do, has to commit and figure out a way to support the development of black freedom infrastructure. And although I'm up here talking about developing a black freedom infrastructure in the 21st century, my mind is still bound to the current reality, and I can't fully see what black freedom could or should be. But I can offer you a few principles that I think might be helpful in envisioning this going forward. So first, black freedom has to be focused on the freedom to thrive and the freedom to be our true selves, rather than just the freedom from bondage or oppression. 2, it has to focus on eradicating elite white male supremacy by developing frameworks and strategies that simultaneously combat the interlocking ideologies of white supremacy, patriarchy, and voracious capitalism. And it has to be replaced with an egalitarian ideology. And this is important because we have to rid ourselves of these ideologies in our daily lives and in our minds. Because if we don't, any society that we create, regardless of who's in charge, will just replicate these ideologies. Similarly, black freedom has to be more than mere nationalism. It can't be a retreat from others into ourselves or privileging people based on gender, class, sexual orientation, religion, or whatever. We have to embrace an ideology of freedom for us and for everyone, and we all have to get free. We can't leave anybody behind. Third, freedom is a collective state of being. It is not an individual achievement. So many of us in this room, me included, have been granted certain legal liberties because of prior struggles for equality, and some of us have been able to translate those liberties into certain life opportunities. But until we all get free, none of us are really free. Freedom is an all or none proposition. You can't be a little bit free, right? You're either free or you are bound and chained. And even if your chains are made of gold or platinum or BMWs, and my chains are made of rusted metal, when they throw one of us overboard, we all sink together. So in closing, I must note that the system of elite white male supremacy and its known and unwitting allies, as they approach their numerical twilight, the tactics and strategies that they will employ to maintain their power will become harsher, cruder, and more obvious. So demographics is not destiny. And elite white male supremacy will not fade away gently into the night, but it will assert its power in order to maintain its power. And so this is what we're seeing and living through right now. But as this occurs, there's also a sliver of opportunity to forge common bounds and shape a common destiny across a wide breadth of people of all races, all classes, all creeds, that are subjugated by the overall regime of elite white male supremacy. And while the broad body of humanity must bind together to achieve freedom, I firmly believe that it will be the radical imaginings of black freedom and black freedom dreams that will and must lay the foundation for all of us to be free and all of us to thrive in this society. So I invite and challenge us all to commit to the pursuit of black freedom. Cultivate your own personal practice of envisioning what black freedom is by yourself and with others. Feel freedom in your heart, in your soul, in your gut. Feel the joy of freedom, the joy of what a life of freedom can be. Because that's what we're here to fight for. We're not here to fight for some laws or greater access. We're here to fight for the state of being free. So finally, as you do this fight for freedom, take this and remember this. You can never back down. You can't equivocate. There could be no compromise. There could be no retreat. Because as we all know, if you give an inch, they'll take 40 acres and the mule. All right? So we got to be strong. We have to support each other. We have to cultivate a love for ourselves. We have to cultivate a love for our people. And we have to sacrifice all that we must so that we can be free. And so for my part, I'll be walking on this path of freedom. And as long as I'm at the Hillstone and Foundation, we will be walking on the path of freedom. And I welcome and look forward to walking that path of freedom with all of you. Thank you.
Like I said, we're going to be okay. Because it's brilliance and leadership in the field. Trying to figure out how to segue from this. So as we enjoy our brilliance and leadership, I can't think of anything better but just sort of wrap ourselves in culture, which is all about us. So before we go on to the lecture portion of the program, let's have a little fun. So I want to introduce to you, I hear we are in for a treat, the Hot 8 Brass Band.
Once again, we're the Hot 8 Brass Band, born and raised right here in New Orleans, Louisiana. And it's our pleasure to be up here. We know that we're bearers of our culture and our music, and we want to share a piece of that with y'all. That's cool? To symbolize everything that's going on, can I get everybody to put one finger high in the sky? And we're going to get it started right here with one of our favorite cover tunes, a little bit of We Are One. Let's get it.
Okay. I'm like out of breath right now. You guys good? All right. Let's see if I can bring the crowd back. Let's see. All right. That was in honor of the sister that we're about to listen to. All right? That was in honor of the sister that's about to come up. All right? Because we had to welcome her in a big, big way. We are so excited about this lecture. As I said, the James Joseph Lecture is really the top award that AFI gives every year. It is about leadership and historical leadership in the field. So we are really pleased, and so many of us have been anxious to hear the sister speak to us tonight. I'm even more excited to hear the gentleman who's going to introduce her speak to us tonight as well. So let me bring up Brother Joe Scantlebury to make the introduction.
I think I got at least 2,000 of my steps in just now. So I'm feeling pretty good. So let me do this very quickly. I'll tell you a couple of things. Sharice told me before I came down, she said, look, a couple of rules. Y'all know Sharice, you know what I'm saying. She said, don't be long. Don't be dry. You know, you can go on, Joe. Now, some of y'all know that Sharice and I live in two separate cities, following the mission. And if you ask Sharice, how y'all pulling that off? You might get a none yo, as in none of your business. Politely said. So, I decided tonight to introduce Dr. Sharice West Scantlebury in a more personal way. And Corey, you got room in your room just in case? All right, all right. So, 17 years ago, August 2000, hot summer in Baltimore, I was a grant seeker. I was an attorney working with a grant seeker. And we were visiting the Annie Casey Foundation. And we had a wonderful meeting, and I expected us to get a grant. On the way out of the foundation, this young woman and her friends who worked at the foundation were coming back from lunch. She was wearing a yellow-red sundress. She was brilliant. I introduced myself as the general counsel of the particular nonprofit. And she immediately said, oh my God, you're an attorney. Ugh. So I stepped back. I'm from Brooklyn, so that sounded like flirting to me. So I got her card, politely. A month later, I asked her to go out. She had no clue who I was. But she was polite, responsive, like a good grant maker should be. And so we had dinner. Little did I know that would begin a 17-year relationship in which we would learn about servant leadership from Ambassador Joseph, in South Africa. We would learn about struggle through partners and friends and family. We would learn about the role of faith in the fight for justice. We would learn about passion. Yes, passion for each other, but passion for people. We would learn about commitment, intellect. We would learn about the things that Dr. Sharice West Scantlebury will share with you tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife, Dr. Sharice West Scantlebury.
Oh, thank you all so much. And I'm actually going to save my thank yous for the end, because if I start now, we'll be here another half hour with me crying. So I'm trying to keep it together now. But I do want to say to Julia and Tynesha and Nat, you guys give me life. You guys are beautiful. I am so grateful to share this stage with you all. Congratulations on your awards. And I just look forward to continuing working with you. For most of my childhood, my mother, my sister, and I lived in the Murphy Homes, a public housing community in Baltimore, Maryland. I can still say my address, 725 George Street, apartment 8L. My phone number was 752-7589. We had to learn that in case we got lost. Growing up there, it was dangerous both inside and outside of my home. For example, to get to the elevators, you had to walk through brothers shooting up and sniffing glue. What I later learned was airplane glue. Eventually, there was a entrance, a plexiglass bulletproof entrance that was erected in the lobby. So, and we also had security guards and cameras. So the brothers who were in the lobby decided to take their thing to the stairwell. But the 725 Mafia Mamas, oh, they weren't having that. So who do you ask are or were the 725 Mafia Mamas? Now that's not the name they gave themselves. That's actually what I call them. They were black women. They were mothers. They were like the Olivia Popes of the projects. They handled whatever needed to be handled. So when them brothers thought they would take it to the stairwell, them sisters was like, oh, hell to the no. They started patrolling and booting them out until they stopped coming. But they couldn't keep up with all the activities that were going on in the building. There was this man named Preacher who liked to offer little girls money to come to his apartment. Now, I don't know if he was an actual preacher or if that's what we called him because he was religious and liked to carry a Bible and some tracts. Because, you know, if you carry some Bibles and some tracts, you a preacher. He could have been an usher or a deacon for all we know. So he offered my sister and I money to come to his apartment. And we neither took his money, nor did we go to his apartment. But what we did do was we told on him. And we told on him, and so did other little girls in our building. So brother got a visit from the 725 Mafia Mamas. Now, I have no idea what was said. I don't have no idea what they did. But what I do know is that every time that brother crossed our path, he diverted his eyes and ran quick, fast, in a hurry in the other direction because they handled it. The 725 Mafia Mamas, they were serious about protecting us. Now, I don't want to romanticize growing up in the Murphy homes. because that was some hard living for a child and a preteen. I have no desire to relive the addiction and the alcoholism, the domestic violence, the fatherlessness. And so many kids and families were going through those same struggles, including the 725 Mafia Mamas, who we depended upon. But I'm grateful for that experience because it made me who I am today. I'm grateful to those women because they taught me when you unite to resist, you can change the culture of your community from one of living in fear to having just a little bit more safety. They taught me that we are empowered with the authority to make change in our communities, and that we have the power to make that change happen. Living there gave me my purpose. I'm very clear that I have been put on this earth to work on behalf of communities like the Murphy Homes and to support women and organizations like the 725 Mafia Mamas. Real clear. And we've all met these women, and we've all met these groups and organizations in our own work. They are scrappy, yet resourceful. They are hard, radical, but they know what is best for their communities. These women were the boldest, baddest women in the Murphy Homes. And I am so grateful for all that they did for us. Aligning philanthropic resources so that we can invest, or in order to invest, aligning philanthropic resources so that we can protect, empower, and resist. Because of my experiences, that's personal for me. And it may be personal for many of you. And that strategy is a necessary strategy. And that aligning in that strategy, that has to work. And we have to make sure that that alignment works. Because now is the time. Now is the time to make that strategy work. Now, I know throughout the sessions and throughout the day, and even earlier in the evening, we kept saying, now is the time, now is the time. And I even read previous JJL lectures imploring, now is the time. But the truth is, now really is the time. Now is the time, not just because I'm the lecturer this year, but now, now really, really is the time for the philanthropic sector to use its resources to further social change in the US. Now is that time. But to do so is going to require such a major transformation in who we are and how we behave as a sector. It's going to require radical, radical transformation. Because if we don't ask those questions, if we don't think about making that transformation, then we're going to lose this moment in time. So what does that radical transformation look like? Well, first we must ask ourselves, are we really ready to support resistance? Even when it's messy? Because it's going to be messy. Are we really ready to protect diverse communities and their lived experiences? Are we really ready to empower grantees to have power and voice? Are we really ready for communities to influence the resources that go into and out of their communities? Are we really ready? Are we really ready to empower communities to be decision makers and to be at the table when those decisions are being made? And if we're not ready, why aren't we ready? And I'm not going to mince words here. We have colleagues in philanthropy who are deathly afraid of poor people having power and voice. We are deathly afraid in philanthropy. We have colleagues who are so afraid of Black people having power and voice. I I have been in philanthropy for 25 years. That's back when they was hiring 12 years old and teenagers. This is my silver anniversary in philanthropy. Over the years, I have heard colleagues say something to the effect of, you know, Sharice, the kind of change you're describing, girl, we want that to happen. We absolutely want that to happen. But if we fund communities to do what you just said, they might demonstrate. They may do an action. They may become confrontational. I've even had colleagues in philanthropy who said something to the effect of, if we fund a particular organization who's doing organizing, who's resisting, who's empowering, who's protecting, if we fund that organization, aligning ourselves with that organization, we might be in the media. We may get negative publicity. People might talk about us. So I sit there and I go, okay, help me. Wait a minute, hold up, what'd you just say? Let me get this straight. You would rather reserve your reputational capital than to help poor people? You would rather reserve your reputational capital than to pursue your mission? So that makes you part of the problem. And on top of that, even if you align yourself, you get in the paper, you get negative publicity, it ain't like nobody not gonna ask you for another grant again. I mean, I don't understand what's at risk here. I don't get it. Now, I know many of us in this room, we fund social justice work and the like. I'm preaching to the choir, but I need y'all to take this message out to those who don't. Ask them. Help us understand what is at risk. Because you're holding up money that we need. What's at risk? Your reputation is far more important. That's crazy. You need to cease and desist. And then on top of that, we have more excuses. Change is hard to measure. Is there a return on investment from advocacy and organizing? And more excuses than that. I had the absolute privilege to be the founding CEO of what is now the Foundation for Louisiana. Yes. Oh, yes. A shout out to Flozell and the crew. Very proud of you guys and the work that you continue to do. As CEO, we were charged at that time to ensure all voices, all people were included in the rebuilding and the reconstruction post-Rita and Katrina. So my team, Ashley and Samantha, y'all out there, because I can't see. Oh, what's up, y'all? Okay, sorry. Ashley and Samantha, and then Landon eventually joined our team. We then went out and intentionally sought to fund organizations like ACORN and PICO. We intentionally went out to find community-based organizations that were doing policy and advocacy, neighborhood groups, civic groups. They were so under-resourced and so underfunded, which was in and of itself a challenge. But what I found even more astounding was some of our social justice grantees said to us, our grant was the first grant they had ever received from a Louisiana-based funder. The first grant. So that means they were not funding resistance, empowerment, and protection prior then. And we even had that experience firsthand when the four of us, were trying to convince in-state funders to partner with us, to co-fund organizing, advocacy, civic capacity building. It was like pulling teeth. So I asked the question of all of us, would we fund organizations like the 725 Mafia Mamas? Would we fund them to empower, to protect, to resist in our communities? Because funding them, actually, by supporting them, and by enabling them to make the sustainable changes that they need and want to make in that community, we have to support organizations like those. And that is movement building. So the second thing that I want to say is when we are looking at this transition in our field, the next thing that we need to consider, we need to put aside the need for perfect outcomes and instant gratification. Perfect outcomes and instant gratification has the effect, in case y'all don't know, again, I know you know in this room, but we got to tell others. That need for that inhibits organizations from taking a stand and speaking up. We need to get rid of the fear of the funder. Grantees who are working on immigration rights, they should not be afraid of losing their grant because they are demonstrating or organizing a rally, or some of their members are undocumented. Those who are working on healthcare policy should not be afraid to approach their funder and ask them to establish and fund a C4 organization, because they need to be able to lobby against the well-resourced lobbyists who are trying to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. We need to figure out ways to fund those C4s, because the policies that we care most about will continue to be sidelined and hobbled if we do not support C4 organizations. And those of us, those funders or those grantees who are working on the justice system, who are going aggressively after the justice system, they shouldn't be afraid to lose their grant because board members are friends with their judges and with the judges and lawyers that those folk are going after. And to my Unity colleagues, now is the time to step in this moment and take leadership within your foundations. As was said earlier, we never had this many black and brown folk in philanthropy before. Now is the time to step into the leadership within your foundations. And I know it's not easy, y'all. I live in Arkansas. I know it's not easy. It is not easy working with or doing this or stepping into leadership with colleagues, board members who are conservative and not risk takers. But we can't stay comfortable in the big house. We can't stay comfortable here. Where are we taking a stand? Are we challenging our sector through our scholarship? We should be writing, publishing. We should be challenging the sector through scholarship, through critiquing. They need to hear from us. Our voice is vital. And quite honestly, they're looking to us for that leadership. And I know it's tiresome, y'all, trying to be the leader and trying to tell folk and school people. I know, trust me, I know it's tiresome. But we got to do it. Now is that time to do it. Because we too must get uncomfortable. We too must take the risk and the boldness we're asking others to take. Because staying safe in our cushy foundation positions is not going to change the world. Another transition that we need to make, a transformation we need to consider. When we have white domestic terrorists who are unafraid to march in our streets, and immigrants who are being stripped from their families, and police killing unarmed black and brown citizens, and Native Americans who continue to be abused by our government. Now is the time to talk about these hard issues in our institutions. And now is the time to talk about racism. Now is the time to get over whatever the hell it is you got going on about it and talk about it. Because these issues are coming, and as Brother Nat said, they're not going to stop. So we need to talk about these hard issues. And we need to be unafraid to talk about them. And unfortunately, we as people of color are going to have to take leadership around some of those conversations. But we have to talk about them. I co-founded an affinity group, an internal affinity group at the Annie Casey Foundation called Respect. All right, my respect folk in the house. So Respect is the place in the foundation where we talked about issues of race, culture, and power. Our charge was to build the core capacity of our staff at the Annie Casey Foundation to work effectively in communities of color. Susan Taylor Batten was our leader of Respect during the time I was there. Under her leadership, y'all, we was on and popping. We challenged everything. We challenged everything from hiring practices to who were the consultants and the vendors, to making sure that we used a racial equity lens in doing our grant making. We challenged everything. We were the first affinity group of its type in philanthropy, and Respect is still going strong some 20 plus years later. Doing that work within the foundation was not easy. Am I right, Susan? Am I right, Corey? Come on, Faith. It was not easy. But we did that thing because it was important for us. One of the products of Respect is the Race Matters Toolkit. Another product of Respect is that the Annie Casey Foundation has a director for race, equity, and inclusion, Nanette Sykes. Now again, that was a 20-year-long battle, but that's a whole nother lecture. But the important thing is we need more foundations to have positions like that, and we need more Nanettes in our field. I was talking with a colleague this past summer who asked me, she called me about Respect because she wanted to do something Respect-like in her foundation. And when she called me, she said, we talked about Respect. I told her about it, and she said, Sharice, we could never do something like that here. She approached colleagues, mainly white colleagues, in her foundation, and she talked with them about a Respect-like approach, and they shut her down. She was even so scared to go to her president to talk about this, to talk about starting Respect. Now, I know that you all think that's an isolated incident, but again, I've been around 25 years. We may not want to talk about it, but that happens more often than not. In our own institutions, we are creating voicelessness and intimidating folks. We are creating the oppression that we're trying to stop in communities. So how can we effectively do community and movement building if we can't even get it right within our own institutions? I also work within a foundation where grant recipients were feeling so disrespected by their grants manager, by their program officer, that they called our director and asked if I could be their program officer. Again, I know y'all want to say that's an isolated incident. That happens way more often than not in philanthropy. We need to get our together. Again, how can we build movements? How can we support movements when we are intimidating, creating voicelessness, creating oppression, creating fear in our own organizations? We need to change that. Our communities need us to change that. And then my final transformation, radical change we need to make is, Lord have mercy, we need to stop looking for the perfect grantee. We need to add to our portfolios those potential grantees who don't know what infrastructure, don't even know how to spell infrastructure, don't even know what a theory of change is, may or may not have a 501c3. We need to add those scrappy, barely off the ground, all they got is heart and passion. That's all they got. They ain't got nothing else to offer you but heart and passion. because that is the backbone of movement building. The backbone of movement building. At the Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation some 8 or 9 years ago, one of the first grants that I made when I got there was to the Worker Justice Center of Arkansas. The executive director was 23 years old, and he was the elder. Since then, in the 9 years that we've been funding them, you heard correctly, we are a long-term funder. In the time that we've been funding them, they have reclaimed $920,000 in workman's comp, discrimination claims, and the like, just through their advocacy on behalf of workers, mainly immigrant workers. We need more of those types of grantees in our portfolio. We need to take those risks. We need to add them to our portfolio. Again, because they are the absolute backbone of movement building. So I want to take this moment and acknowledge the power that we have. We have and we can create movements that have changed the course of history in the United States. The civil rights movement, the gay rights movement, the consumer protection movement. Many of those movements were funded by philanthropy. We can and we have changed the course of history. So let's join the resistance. Let's join that resistance. Yes, there is a whole lot of anger in that resistance. It's filled with anger. But so are many of us in this room. So why be afraid of it? Let's harness that anger. Instead of being afraid of it, let's harness that anger. Let's join with our leaders. Let's join with those who are like the 725 Mafia Mamas. Let's join the DACA youth. Let's join that march in St. Louis right now. Let's support the people who are on Standing Rock. Let's join. Let's support them. I am very clear. My career is dedicated to communities like the Murphy Homes and to groups and organizations like the 725 Mafia Mamas. That is my calling. Today, I am calling on all of us, whether you are a CEO, a program officer, or a board member. I'm calling on all of us to push boundaries in our foundations. I'm calling on all of us to be bold. I'm calling on all of us to get rid of whatever the hell it is you're afraid of in talking about racism and race in your institution. I'm calling on all of us to demand that we fund social justice within our foundations. I'm calling on all of us to ensure that our Black and brown communities get the dollars they need and deserve to make the changes we need to make here in America. I'm calling on all of us to take up the charge that Tanisha talked about. I'm calling on all of us to behave like Nat told us to talk about. I'm calling on all of us, like our sister from the Crow. I know your name, but I like the name Crow. From the Sisters from the Crow told us to do. I'm calling on all of us to be bold. I'm calling on all of us to put pressure in our sector. I'm calling on all of us to do that. Because right now is that time. Right now is our moment in history. Not tomorrow, not next year, but right now. And let's answer that call. Let's take up that banner. And let's do it not just for ourselves, but for those communities, those babies, those families on which we purport to serve. Thank you so much.
Oh, God. Yeah, let me come.
Wow. Sharice, thank you. Thank you for your words, for your leadership.
Thank you.
We are so blessed to have you where you are. I'm blessed to call you my colleague, my friend, and my sister. So
Appreciate it. Love you too.
So we honor the James Joseph Lecturers with a very special piece. And what you see behind you is an illustration of a painting that there are only 26 around. This is the 26th James Joseph Lecture, and there are 26 of these. Sharice is now the 26th owner of this actual painting. And I just want to tell you a little bit about it, and it's on its way to you. Okay. I just want to let you know that. The name of the painting is Rainbow People, and the artist is Lloyd G. McNeil, and it was commissioned in 1991 for the inaugural James Joseph Lecture. It is based on an initiative by Ambassador Joseph and symbolizes our rich cultural diversity. It also represents the pride and the promise of Black people. Sharice, we are so honored to honor you as the 26th James Joseph Lecturer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, with that, I want to call on my sister Carly. Let's give it up for Carly Hare, the Coalition Catalyst for Change Philanthropy.
Thank you all. I hope that you are as humbled and as inspired as I have been this evening. Thank you for sharing your energy. Thank you to the awardees for the work that you've committed to, the work that you're challenging us to, and the opportunity to continue to move this work forward. We have been challenged and inspired and engaged, hopefully over the last 20-some hours. And now it's time for us to enjoy and connect and take time together. So we are going to transition into our evening together again. We will have the amazing Hot 8 brass band wrap us up for the evening. We have desserts and drinks in the back if you should care for some. And I just hope you had a wonderful evening and were as inspired as I was. Thank you all.